Hi, my name is Bruce Whitfield. This is ECN 423, Section 1. Homework 9, problem 14.23, and it's the second version of the question, which asks you to add, I added a second item, and I changed the price for one of the items. And so I have the entity for the vending machine set up with clock, reset, 0, nickel, dime, and quarter, 1-bit standard logic input. A 2-bit in standard logic selector bit. It's 1 hot. It selects between the two items. And then CG stands for item vended change given. It's an 3-bit output in standard logic. And the most significant bit stands for item 2, the middle bit item 1, and the least significant bit stands for if change is given or not. And then I have the architecture set up right here, and I created a type called state type with states from state 0 to state 60. I created a state signal, current state, and next state of state type, and a temp signal. It's 3 bits. And then a process clock with clock and reset and its sensitivity. If reset is 1, then current state is state 0. If a clock event and clock is 1, then current state is next state. And then I have a process with sensitivity list of current state, next state, 0, nickel, dime, quarter, and the 2-bit selector. I set temp, I clear temp and set it to 0. I have a case with a selector current state. When in state 0, the output is 0, 0, 0. If If Z is enabled, the next state is state 0. If nickel's inserted, next state is state 5. If a dime is inserted, next state is state 10. If a quarter is inserted, next state is state 25. And whenever you are in state 5 right here, the output is 0, 0, 0. If nothing's inserted, it'll stay in state 5. If a nickel is inserted, it'll go to state 10. If a dime's inserted, it'll go to state 15. And if a quarter's inserted, it'll go to state 30, right here at state 10. If nothing's put in, it'll stay at state 10. If a nickel is put in, it'll go to state 15. If a dime's put in, it'll go to state 20. If a quarter's put in, it'll go to state 35. And then right here, state 15, the output is 0, 0, 0. If nothing's put in, it'll stay at state 15. If a nickel's put in, it'll go to state 20. If a dime, state 25. If a quarter, state 40. At state 20 right here, if the output is 0, 0, 0, if nothing's put in, it'll stay at state 20. If a nickel, will go to state 25. If a dime, will go to state 30. If a quarter, will go to state 45. And at state 25, the output is 0, 0, 0. If nothing's put in, it'll stay at that state. And if a nickel's put in, it'll go to state 30. If a dime, 35. If a quarter, state 50. When it's in state 30, if nothing's put in, it's going to stay at state 30. If a nickel's put in, it'll go to state 35. If a dime, it'll go to state 40. If a quarter, it'll go to state 55. When in state 35, if the selector is set to 0, 1, which stands for item 1, then the output is 0, 1, 0, which means item 1 is being vended with no change. And it's being vended because item 1 costs 35 cents, and it is in state 35, which means there's been 35 cents put into the vending machine. If nothing's been put in while it's in state 35, then it'll go to state 0. If a nickel's been put in, it'll go to state 5. If a dime, state 10. If a quarter, state 25. If the selector bit is set to 1, 0, which means it's selecting item 2, then the output is set to 0, 0, 0 because item 2 costs 40 cents and there's only been 35 cents put in. So if nothing's been put in, it's going to stay at state 35. If a nickel, will go to state 40. If a dime, will go to state 45. And if a quarter, will go to state 60. When in state 40, the selector is set to 0, 1 for item 1, then the output is 0, 1, 1, which stands for item 1 being vended with change being given. If nothing's put into the vending machine change-wise, then the next state is state 0. If a nickel, it'll be state 5. If a dime, it'll be state 10. And a quarter, it'll be state 25. If the second item's been selected, then the output will be 1, 0, 0, which means item 2 vended with no change, because, it's in state 40, and item 2 costs 40 cents. If nothing's been put in, then it will go to state 0. If a nickel, it'll go state 5. If a dime, it'll go state 10. And a quarter, it'll go state 25. When it is in state 45, the selector is set to 0, 1. Then the output is 0, 1, 1. If nothing's been put into the vending machine, then the next day is state 0. If a nickel, goes state 5. Then dime, state 10. Quarter, state 25. If the selector is set to 1, 0, then the output is 1, 0, 1. If nothing's been put in, then the next day state 0. If a nickel's been put in, next day state 5. If a dime, then the next day state 10. If a quarter, next day state 25. And basically, when you're in state 50, the selector's set to 1, then the output is 0, 1, 1. If nothing's been put in, the next day state 0. Nickel, state 5. Dime, next day state 10. If quarter, the next day state 25. If the selector's set to 1, 0, then the output is 1, 0, 1. And basically the transition between the states for nothing being put in and a nickel, dime, and quarter being put in is similar for state 55 and 60 as well. And that concludes at the very end right here in my case, in my process, and then I set IVCG, which is the item vended change given, to the temp, and then I end the architecture, and that's all for the VHDL for the vending machine. Thank you.